just look at these gorgeous raspberries. Joan J variety autumn raspberries cropping now through August and September. And we've had to water a lot to achieve that. And in fact, when you don't water raspberries, like these ones on the edge a bit, you can see, I'll even pick that one off because it's already, how they're much smaller and darker red. Still very nice, really tasty. But watering is a big theme of this video. I'm doing everything with just one tap and a hose. I have permission as a commercial market gardener, even if there was a hosepipe ban, thank goodness. But it takes quite a bit of time. But with no dig, you definitely get much stronger moisture conservation. It's a miracle actually how plants have been growing through hot weather. It's going to be 33 degrees today, 91 Fahrenheit, 34 tomorrow, was 30 yesterday. Then the heat's subsiding a bit, but it's caused problems as well, and we'll look at those in the video too. The fruit though, summer fruit, are loving it when we can water enough. So these beautiful alpine strawberries, which I actually grew from seed. So I sowed them in February in the greenhouse, planted them here in April under fleece, and done. They're nice. Take a long time to pick. These are a bit more practical. The Marais des Bois is a fantastic old variety for flavour. The flavour of these ever-bearing strawberries is phenomenal. I'm really impressed. And I planted them not much more than a year ago, late July last year. They just established in the autumn and gave a first flush in June, but main crop now. The courgettes are cropping really well and they're strong. I'm picking them small, and I sell the flowers as well. The restaurant will love that. And we'll see in a minute the effect of tree roots on courgettes. This garden, fortunately, it's nice and open and there aren't those problems. And here there's a nice plant which is buckler leaf sorrel. It had a fantastic flush of growth in the spring. These little sorrel leaves are absolutely delicious, and I put them in my salad mix for a little extra flavour. Then add and mow them to the ground because they're all flowering, and this is the second growth after we've watered. And the squashes, I'm being very selective in watering. So in this bed here, for example, you see the plants in the middle, the leaves are dying off, and that's because we haven't been watering them because it's an early variety, the cheeky curry, the red ones. You can just see a few red squash there. I don't yet know how many. It's not going to be as many as it would have been if it had rained. But the butternut here I have been watering because they go on growing for much longer. In some years it can be quite a problem because they don't have time to ripen, but this year there's going to be a fantastic harvest of beautiful long storing squashes. The asparagus bed is 14 years old, and you can see how abundant it is. We were picking until solstice, so that's only about 7 weeks ago. And so all that growth has happened in those 7 weeks. And I put compost on the whole bed, not just around each clump, and the roots are spreading out a long way when they're mature like this, even into this bed of new lettuce, which I'll need to be a bit careful about giving extra water, maybe even on both sides. This is cos lettuce this end that went in a week ago, and at the far end we put in some very small plants of little gem which have established really well. I find that putting in small transplants actually often for lettuce and lettuce family works better, but we'll see in a moment for brassicas this year it hasn't because of flea beetle, the dreaded. These runner beans, despite the conditions, are cropping really well, and I'm not picking them because these are for seed. They're Czar, C-Z-A-R, the variety which makes beautiful white beans that taste like butter beans, like lima beans, but they are phaseolus runner beans. So it's a really, really good variety to grow, I find, in our climate. And just looking at them there along the row, I can see how they're dry. You can see the leaves slightly curling up and going the other way around, and that's the way the plants have of protecting themselves if they're not got enough moisture. But there'll be enough moisture to get a crop at least. We're giving them a bit of water, but I'm not prioritizing them. Most of the water we're giving to salads and new plants. And this little bed over here, I have been watering. Every day I give a little bit. So it's little and often, because this bed is full of tree roots, which is why the courgettes are so much smaller than the other ones, but they are still cropping. And the tree roots are from that apple tree there, and also the elder tree over there, and they're just continually sucking moisture and goodness, and you can see they're not that close. So it's a factor. If your garden has got quite large trees, or even medium-sized trees quite close, or a tall hedge, it's not easy in the summer. That bed actually grows fantastic winter salad, because the elder and apple both lose their leaves. So if it's deciduous trees, you at least do have that option. And with this weather, you know, it's like we're almost subtropical this year, and winter's becoming an interesting season to grow in, although we don't know what the winter will be, to be fair. This is the composting has been going at a good lick, but we're lacking grass. We haven't mown the grass for about a month. We've actually had 9 millimeters of rain in the last 50 days, 50. So that's quite a drought, considering which we're doing well. And most of the ingredients here are crop residues, like tomato leaves and cucumber leaves from the polytunnel where I'm pruning them, sweetcorn that has finished and chopped in there. And this heap is only 4 days old, so the temperature has not yet got going. That's pretty much ambient temperature. That's 4 days of clearing, including marigolds and things. Whereas this heap, you can see the dates up there. It went from, started 29th of June, finished on the 7th of August. So that's just under 6 weeks, and the temperature is a good 50 degrees centigrade, which is hot enough to kill weed seeds. You don't need temperature to kill weed roots. And if I just delve down there a bit, it's a bit of a mixture of dry and wet, which is why you can see the steam. It's pretty warm, but that's looking good for to stay there for about 6 to 8 weeks. Like that one is still maturing, and then there was a heap here, which again from the dates, it was started 6th of April, finished on the 1st of June. So average date is May. Turned here from there to there on the 5th of August. You can see that on my Instagram profile, actually, that turning speeded up. And so this heap is not much more than 3 months old, say 3.5 months old. And especially after turning, it mixes it all up a bit. If I can get out of my shadow, you can see some really lovely compost there. That you could use compost at this stage if you really needed it and you had none other. But we don't need it at the moment. Generally, I reckon to use it when it's between 6 and 8 months old on average. But it's a very open question. There's bare spaces happening all the time as cropping finishes. So this was sweetcorn, and normally sweetcorn harvest would be in full flow now, early to mid-August, but this year it's finished. These are finished already. They've all gone on a compost heap, which is great, and we're going to plant broccoli for winter, and I'll show you the plants in a minute. I've been raising them as big plants because of flea beetle, and this is just such a beautiful comparison, interesting always, between no dig, which is closest to camera, so that bed, undisturbed soil, compost on the surface, 2 to 3 centimeters, about an inch, no more, and that's usually in December. And at the same time as spreading the compost there, this bed is dug and the compost goes in the trench. So the soil surface is very different. This has soil on top, that has compost on top, and we find when watering that this bed soaks up the water much more easily and readily, whereas on the dig bed it tends to smear the soil and run off the surface. And looking at the crops here, you can see maybe not much difference between the beans and the beetroot, although we had many more kohlrabi on the no-dig bed. These are all second plantings, so like this celeria was planted between spinach late April, and you can see quite a strong difference between celeriac on no-dig and on dig. And same story for these chicory for radicchios, which went in 2.5 weeks ago, established pretty well here and not so well there, and I think that's to do with moisture retention. Having said that, the kale, at least on the dig bed, they look slightly larger than the no dig, but it's all disfigured at the moment, all the brassicas by flea beetle, and that's what's sticking to these traps. All of those, that's all flea beetle there, which have got caught here. And that's just this time yesterday we put that trap there. It's like, oh, there are so many this year. And I know from feedback, which I'm always happy to receive from many of you, same problem. What do we do? I'm not too sure. It's not gone on in August like this before. Well, here we have, you can see the leeks again. I think this is again moisture related, stronger on no dig. Parsnips, stronger on no dig. And cucumber, the cucumber plants look a bit smaller here, but that's because they survived. I planted 2 cucumbers in each bed between beetroot in late May. We had lovely weather then. But it then got cold in early June, and the cucumbers in the dig bed died. And so I replanted in solstice time with 2 plants I had left over in the greenhouse. And they thrived much better. These kind of struggled. I just wanted to show you the harvest. The La Diva cucumber. Look at that. So really tasty outdoor ridge cucumber they're called. And regular harvest through warm weather. And not only that, this is the second planting here after beetroot. We've had like 3 kilos of beetroot there already. And look what's going in here. 2 weeks ago we transplanted fennel. So this is bulb fennel, variety rondo for October harvest. And I found that this can establish very nicely while the cucumber's still growing around it. So that principle of overlapping plants is, I explain in my book Grow Together. If you're interested, do check it out, because it really expands the cropping season and gives you many more possibilities for growing more in a small space. This was celery here, and I thought we would succeed with these Brassica transplants that were from pots slightly bigger than the module. And no, they're getting hammered as well, and despite having a cover. I have some spare pots, so I'm just hoping that enough survive and we'll replace the ones that are really clobbered. This is what I've been using actually. That's just a vacuum. Heidi, who was here, had the idea. She'd seen it on Instagram to hoover up the flea beetles. We tried it yesterday and we caught a lot, but they're still there. These are the pots which we were planting cabbages of this size, you know, and this should have worked, you know, really strong root system. That's golden acre there, for example. But you see there's a bit of flea beetle in here. I've got another trap there. And these, I'm finding this is working. Much more mature, stronger plants. Again, really good root system. I think these are a bit too wet actually. I'm using that bottom tray just to keep them really moist. But brassicas are tough plants and they won't hurt for sitting there for another 10 days even, going a bit purple even. And my experience from before is like, yeah, that works. So they can go into that sweetcorn bed soon. And actually, just while we're here, I could mention the Padron peppers, which are beyond them, because I love Padron for its variability. Famously, you know, you eat a Padron pepper and mostly they're sweet pepper, and then you get a really hot one. And we've not had a hot one this year. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I wonder if you have, if you're growing them. I got those from plants from Sam's father, and he grows about 40, he loves them. And he said he hasn't had any hot ones either, so I don't know if it was the seed he sowed. Oh yeah, watermelons. Just look at these beauties here. So that's from 2 plants of watermelon, whose names I can't remember, but I'll put them in the description. We're starting to see suddenly, they grow a lot and you think nothing's happening. Then suddenly you see all these fruits, and there's a real monster there. And also here we have melons, and they are growing as laterals or side shoots from this one plant here. Has sent off melons in all directions. There's quite a few, and it's Ogen. It's an open pollinated melon, which I'm actually loving because it ripens at different stages, and we've had 2 quite big ones off this. These are even bigger now than the first ones. And just up here you can see a nice combination effect, watermelon with melon. And that Ogen melon is ripe. There's no rush to harvest it, but actually I'm going to cut it tomorrow. You can see a slight cracking there and the incredible colour change from green to yellow. And those are just amazing at the moment. Whereas tomatoes, you're not seeing many ripe ones here because we're picking them at breaking stage mostly, which means like that. That could even have been picked yesterday. And that's Orange Wellington. With these plants, I'm still side shooting. Oh, I just saw one that we missed actually. Look at that, that's a side shoot. And the leader above it has another little side shoot there. And what I'm going to do probably in a week's time is pinch out the top, which is that. It looks like a side shoot, but it's the main leading point. If you take that out, the plant then stops growing upwards anymore. It increases a bit, but then it will make more side shoots. You have to keep removing them. But what it means is that the fruits that are on the plant get all the energy of the plant to finish growing and ripen before October. And it's like, October, that seems miles away. We're in the middle of summer, but actually October's not that far away now from the middle of August. And as we go through September, I've always noticed how the growing and ripening of tomatoes really slows down every day. So it's something to think about, depending where you are climate-wise. I've already stopped my outdoor tomatoes, for example. I want to quickly show you the polytunnel because the cucumbers in there have been actually better than I would have hoped for. In this weather, it's not easy for cucumbers. I had real trouble in June with the tops burning off in the incredible heat, but regular watering has kept them growing mostly. You can see the amazing long stems and just continual fruiting. I pinch out every second fruit. And the tomatoes beyond, you're seeing mostly, name's gone out of my head, Sakura, the cherry tomatoes, and also sungolds. And there's a lot of beef tomatoes there, which again we're picking quite immature. And here also a polytunnel is good for seed saving, and I wonder how many of you recognize that plant. It's frizzy endive, variety Wallone, which is fantastic in winter. And I left 2 plants there to go to seed, and the seeds are in here. I won't actually go into it in too much detail. This could be another little short video actually to get the seeds out of there. It's not obvious actually, but we'll easily get enough seeds for what we need for winter. And there's another self-seeded plant here, which is amaranth. I didn't sow these amaranths, not consciously. They suddenly popped up. There's 2 along the tunnel. They're just wonderful, enormous colour in the garden. And likewise the lettuce actually. I find lettuce is so decorative. That's Classio there, the slightly pointy leaves, and we're picking the outer leaves. As you can see, the plants on the right near the house are a bit smaller. That's because we picked them yesterday. And these also got picked yesterday. That's Saragossa, and I'm finding they are a brilliant summer lettuce for withstanding heat and continuing to grow without bolting. So those have been in the ground since 20th of June actually, nearly 2 months. And we're watering every 2 days at least. French beans also, I'm watering a lot now. I didn't water them until they were flowering because they can get going then and get their roots down. But now that they're cropping, this one's nice, it's Q Blue. Yeah, now they're cropping, they need every bit of moisture to keep growing. I want them to keep going, have more flowers, more fruit for a decent length of time. And these have been wonderful. This is Kentucky Wonder. It's actually probably the best variety this year. You can see how lush the leaves are. And like yesterday morning, Sam was picking these and I said to him, just put the hose running at the bottom of each teepee while you're picking it. It's a way of saving time. So we're looking to do all things like that with the watering. But we have to keep the water coming, otherwise these plants are not going to grow anymore. But so these were picked just yesterday. We don't pick them too small, but we're going to pick them again tomorrow actually. Oh no, they were picked on Monday, sorry, 2 days ago. But yeah, loads of fruit ongoing, fantastic. And then we have a dramatic event over here, which is the flea beetle. Yeah. This was a sticky trap I put up about 5 days ago, which is completely covered, as you can see. So we put new ones up yesterday, again, that's just since yesterday. And looking at these plants, there's actually not so many as there have been. If I just touch that, I don't know if you saw that, but they hop off. The little black shiny things like there. And we vacuumed here yesterday, got a lot, and put them in boiling water. But I'm going to try vacuuming them again. I just want to help these plants get through. When you can see that the centre or heart leaves are mostly green and not too eaten, the plants are still hanging in there with a chance. We're watering these about every 3 days, and I feel they're going to make it. They're a good enough size. It should be in normal years. The flea beetles stop eating in early August. This year they haven't. The weather's continued like this. We'll see. It's all new ground for me. The outdoor tomatoes, because of the weather, have been fantastic. Normally we're struggling a bit in this climate. We're 51 north here. It's, you know, it's not subtropical normally. And I've already pinched out the tops, like you can see there, so there's no more growing point, but there is a side shoot, so that just needs to come out. These are really good little clips, by the way. I was sent them from Turkey. I'll put a link in the video description. And just keeping up with growth and keeping it pruned. These are all crush varieties of different types. Blight resistant, but this year that doesn't really count. Sunflowers have been wonderful. They're all slightly different in appearance and growth, but almost all of them, except the crimson, the orange ones, are from the same seed stock, and they're home safe seed, which I've had cross-pollinated because I grow a few varieties. So I just keep one plant each year for seed, but I know that it will have cross-pollinated. Nicola's signing me that way. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, thanks Nicola. She said she spotted this going around. Look at that beautiful fruit. It's a golden gauge or golden plum. Actually, just to be precise, golden transparent is the name, and I've never eaten one of these. Oh, this is the first one. That's 2-year-old fruit tree. Yeah, I know I'm not meant to eat on camera, but just sometimes I make exceptions. It's delicious. So 2 years growth for one plum. And actually the apples, I mean, look at this. They're either rotting on the tree. Oh, there's another one as well, brown rot, or they're not growing much, or they have codling moth, which is that. Even though I've got a trap over there for codling moth, it's not going to be a vintage year for apples. So I have been watering these. That one not much. The one I've been favouring is this cox tree, which actually always does really well, and you can see it's got some nice fruit. It needs some more water though for these fruit to swell a bit. And on that water theme, there's a really interesting thing happening here, which is, if you look along this chard bed, you can see the left-hand row nearest to the pathway is quite a bit bigger than the chard in the middle. And what I'm seeing is the lettuce and endive in the bed next to the chard on the left are much smaller. The ones closer to the chard are being robbed of water. Well, not robbed, but the chard is grabbing the water more than they can. So it just shows how far plant roots can travel when everything's at stake and they need moisture. And you might see this effect in your garden sometimes. Chard is quite a greedy plant, and the other thing actually that's happening here is these radicchios are quite a bit smaller just there compared to a little further along. And that's from the tree behind us, this wild cherry, which I noticed yesterday actually is starting to look autumnal, and we're finding that now with quite a few trees, not the oaks or the ash, but more specimen trees like that. they're just running out of water. In the tunnels I'm watering certainly more than outside, every 2 days at the moment, and often in here I'll bring a hose in. I don't have any sprinkler system, but I'll bring the hose in while tending the plants, doing this sort of thing, looking for, oh, that even needs a knife, side shoots which escape. You know, I side shooted in here 2 days ago and just missed that one. So they've been good. That's sun gold there. And actually one other thing I do is remove with my knife any trusses that are finishing. So that one's just 2 fruit. I'll pick them later. And that keeps the stem tidy so you can drop it on the ground more easily. While the aubergines there, that's a variety called long purple, which has been surprisingly prolific considering it never looks that abundant, but I keep harvesting when they're a little bit larger than that. Just medium sized, lovely long aubergines. Weather's been great for them. I personally, I've loved this weather actually. You know, I'd much rather warm or hot sunshine than the grey cloud and rain that we can get. And it's only a little bit tricky for those plants along there. This bed was wild rocket, which left the soil really dry. We had to water a lot before planting even, and then put in these little transplants of chicory for radicchio, which I'm hoping will crop quite late, even into November. Fantastic salad plant at that point. And all the lettuce family, chicory, endive lettuce, are so much easier than at the moment than brassicas, because they don't get flea beetle. Yeah, rhubarb. This has surprised me because rhubarb loves moisture, and look how it's growing, still really strong. So that's not being picked at all until the autumn. By October or end of October, that'll just be nothing there. They rot back in, and then it springs to life in January even actually. These brassicas, you can see, they're surviving. I would say they're surviving, not thriving, especially this bed. It's autumn cauliflower Navona Romanesco, which went in only 10 days ago as large plants from the 9 centimetre pots, and we've watered every 2-3 days just to keep them going really, but it's looking all right. And those are actually thriving more, and that's white sprouting. There's Burbank and White Eye, and they make beautiful sprouts, all being well, February, March mainly. And look at this. I couldn't believe it. I was up here yesterday evening and oh my word, that's badger. So finally, you know, I count my blessings actually, because I've harvested a lot of corn from here already. But look how they really trash the plants when they're looking for food. And you can see these cobs actually were looking, they had quite a bit more yellow on yesterday evening than they do this morning. So he's been again to have another go, because yesterday evening, just before sunset, I harvested everything that was there. So it's in the shed safe. It's a super sweet variety, so they maintain sweetness after picking, luckily. And I need to tidy up now. And actually, this will all go on the compost. That's valuable composting material. I can't stop the badger coming in. You know, they're huge animals. You just have to hope. And this year, mostly I've been lucky. There's even plants under here, believe it or not. And that's fennel again. You can see how they look a bit squashed by the fleece, but actually, apart from unless the badger trod on it, they'll be fine. We need to just keep them going with a little water, and there's chicory at the far end. And this also has been superb. Combination of leeks and celeriac, and we just started harvesting the leeks. They'll all be gone within about 2 weeks. And then the celeriac has more space to finish its amazing growth, which it happens a lot in September and October with celeriac. So if your celeriac still looks small, don't worry, it's got a lot of time to really develop. There's 2 types of squash here. I call them squash, some people call them pumpkin, but technically speaking, like the butternut and curry squash, but one might say this is a pumpkin, and it's maybe not great for eating, but it's a variety that's been bred to have naked pumpkin seeds, so green seeds that you can eat without shelling. They came from Sweden, Asen. I'll put her link in the description as well. And the butternut have been amazing, and because they're still growing, I've stopped watering the seed ones, but I'm keeping going watering on the butternut, and I'm not watering the crown prince. So you can see how the leaves are starting to die off. You can start to see the fruits. I think there's only 2 per plant, if that actually. Well, we'll see when I'll add it up. There's about 35 plants there of squash altogether. And here we have a flea beetle disaster again. Just look at these. Here, despite the cover, that's kohlrabi, which I thought would work. You know, because of the time of year, we put them in about 8 days ago. Hammered by flea beetle, and hardly any green leaf there, even though we've been watering. So I think no kohlrabi this autumn, but I'm going to plant some lettuce instead. There's always possibilities. Like you still got spinach. Spinach and turnips can still happen this autumn. These were planted only a little before the big ones, the little ones rather, and you can see how they're surviving again, but not thriving. That's red broccoli for the spring. And the cabbage here, they went in 2.5 months ago as small plants, and there wasn't so much flea beetle pressure at that point. And you can see how they're looking all right. I'm going to harvest them very soon. It's stonehead, just for a nice heart. Most of the damage is on the outer leaves. And here I wanted to show you what can happen with chicory. It doesn't normally happen so much, but this plant I can see won't make a chicory because it's starting to flower. It's bolting basically. So there's a seed head in there. Yeah, there you go. That is just the incipient stage of a flower stem with a flower that would come. If you see that, it's game over for if you're waiting for radicchio. You could eat that, but I was hoping for big radicchio, and I think most of them will still be okay. And we are watering these twice a week roughly. And also the endive are brilliant, which Ianthe is just watering. You can see how we're just using a hose to put on the water there. A real thicket of leaves, fantastic. And the much smaller ones slightly further up is because we picked them yesterday morning. Taking off all the leaves, outer leaves, and using the nicer ones, discarding quite a lot of the lowest leaves. And they're a little bit bitter, not as sweet as lettuce, but the reason I grow a lot of endive at this time of year is this. These cos lettuce here, look what's happened to the ones in the middle, all dying and finished basically. That is caused by lettuce root aphid, which actually we get a lot here in August. So I'm not surprised to see it, but it's dramatic this year because of the weather, meaning it's often eating lettuce roots in August, and you may not notice if it's always raining. This year we are. Having said that, some of the lettuce are surviving, and particularly the Batavian type, like you can see there. Maravilla di Verona this end and Saragossa far end, those both Batavian type, beautiful bronzed round leaves, and they keep cropping. And in my experience so far anyway, they're not affected so much by the root aphid, but we just need to keep watering. And I'm even watering, or in this case, these flowers are benefiting from the water given to the endive. That's Benares giant purple zinnia, which I sowed in the middle of April. And it's just loving these conditions as long as it's got some water to the roots. And it's such a great flower for the vegetable gardens. It's got a bit of height, strong colour, rather like the sunflowers actually. Yeah, I love plants with a bit more height, but what hasn't been working quite so well is these dahlias. This was an experiment. I grew some from seed. So these are all from home saved seed, and you can see they're not that striking flowers, but they're much appreciated by the insects, so there's a bonus for them. But they're taking quite a bit of water for not so much effect. And finally, I want to show you the pyramid, and several of you have said, can we have a video about the pyramid? and I'll do more of a dedicated one in the autumn, but I can just show you now how things are growing in here. I'm starting to get quite impressed. At first the growth was slow, and that's because this ground, it's no dig and it was weedy pasture until April. And then Adam put thick cardboard here, 2 layers actually, and we'd run out of a lot of good compost. We had to use quite a bit of PAS 100, the green waste hot compost, and it's still decomposing a bit, and I think that's one reason the plants have taken time to get going, but you can see they are going now. Even I'm running out of space at the top. I'm going to pinch them out soon, and I'm using copper wire here, for example. So this pyramid, you can't have any metal to get the pyramid effect, whatever that is. Yeah, it's quite well documented actually. You can find a lot of interesting things on the internet about pyramids, and wonderful results for medical as well as not many people I think are using them as a greenhouse. So that's what intrigued me, see what difference it might be in how plants grow. It took a long time to make this pyramid. It wasn't straightforward. And you see Thomas, the joiner, did a great job like with these windows. He's puzzling, how do I make a window catch? And it's all wood with one copper nail holding that piece of wood there. And the ventilation has been good actually, 2 side windows and the main door. It's not huge, it's 5 meters square, it doesn't get too hot in here. And the tomatoes, well, they're loving it. So, you know, I'm optimistic. We'll come back in late September, early October and have another look. And do come to my open day if it's convenient for you. That's on the 6th of September. And remember, no dig day on the 3rd of November.